A deer freezes at the edge of a forest. It hasn't seen you yet. It hasn't smelled you. But the moment it does, it's gone. Not because you threatened it, not because you moved toward it, simply because you exist. And somewhere in the logic of that reaction is one of the most profound and uncomfortable truths about what humans are. Most people assume animals fear humans because humans hunt them, because we're dangerous, because somewhere in an animal's nervous system, it is learned through experience that humans mean harm. And that explanation is partly true. But it is also, in important ways, incomplete, because animals that have never encountered a human in their lives, animals raised in captivity with no exposure to hunting, no memory of being chased, still show fear responses to human presence. Something older is happening, something that goes back further than any individual animal's experience, further even than recorded human history. The fear of humans and animals has a scientific name. Researchers call it the landscape of fear, a term originally developed by ecologist Joel Brown and later expanded by William Ripple, and it refers to the way predator pressure reshapes not just the behavior of prey, but the spatial organization of entire ecosystems. Where you go, where you don't, what you eat, when you move. All of it restructured around the presence of a threat, and across dozens of species on every continent. In habitats ranging from dense rainforest to open savanna, researchers are finding the same result. Humans generate more fear in animals than almost any other predator on the planet. Not lions, not wolves, not bears. Humans. A landmark 2019 study, led by Liana Zanette at Western University in Canada, tested this directly. Zanette and her colleagues played recordings of different predators, bears, wolves, mountain lions, and humans, to large mammals and birds across multiple wild habitats. They then measured behavioral fear responses, how quickly animals fled, how long they stayed away, how dramatically their behavior changed. Across nearly every species tested, the human voice triggered fear responses that were 2 to 4 times stronger than the responses triggered by large carnivores. A deer was more afraid of the sound of a human voice than of a lion. Think about that for a moment. Lions kill deer. Lions have killed deer for millions of years. The fear of lions is ancient, hardwired, tested across evolutionary time. And yet, a human voice, something far newer in the evolutionary history of prey animals, produced a stronger response. Why? Part of the answer lies in what researchers call the super predator hypothesis. Humans are not just effective predators. We are, in terms of the scale and unpredictability of our killing, unlike any predator that has ever existed. A wolf hunts within a territory. A lion is ambush adapted. Their killing patterns, while lethal, are legible to prey animals who have evolved alongside them. They know where wolves den. They know where lions wait. They know the pattern. Humans have no pattern. We hunt from distances prey cannot perceive. We use tools that have no evolutionary analog. We can pursue prey across terrain, across seasons, across years, in ways that no natural predator has ever done. And we kill at scales that simply have no precedent in natural predator behavior. Researcher Chris Darramont, who has studied human predation rates across species, found that humans kill adult prey animals at rates that can be up to 9 times higher than other carnivores. We don't primarily take the old or the sick, the way natural predators tend to. We disproportionately target large, reproductively active adults, exactly the individuals whose loss most destabilizes a population. Natural selection, over millions of years, has shaped prey animals to fear the unpredictable, the powerful, and the lethal. And by every one of those measures, humans exceed any predator they have previously encountered. But here's where the story gets stranger. Because not all animal fear of humans is learned. Some of it appears to be inherited. When Zanette's team tested their recordings on animals in protected areas where hunting had been banned for decades, areas where many of the individual animals tested had never in their lifetimes encountered a hunting human, the fear responses were still dramatically elevated compared to other predators. The animals hadn't learned to fear us from experience. The fear was already there, passed down through generations, encoded in the nervous system the way a bird knows to fear a hawk's silhouette, even if it's never seen one before. This is what evolutionary biologists call an innate releasing mechanism, a pre-programmed fear response to a specific stimulus that doesn't require learning to activate. And the fact that human-specific fear responses appear to be heritable in wild animal populations suggests something extraordinary. We have been a sufficiently consistent and lethal threat to animal populations for long enough that evolution has incorporated us into the default threat model of prey species. We are not a learned danger. We are a biological expectation. And yet, something even stranger happens when humans stop hunting. In the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone, where humans have been absent for decades, wildlife populations have rebounded in ways that surprised scientists. Large mammals that would normally flee at the first sign of human presence began returning, not because the radiation disappeared, but because the humans did. The single most effective driver of animal behavioral change, more effective than any environmental factor, was simply the removal of the human presence. Researcher Jim Beasley, who has studied wildlife in the Chernobyl zone, found that animal activity patterns shifted dramatically when human presence was removed, with species becoming more active during daylight hours, in open areas, near roads, behaviors that would be suicidal in regions with human hunting pressure. The same effect has been documented repeatedly in marine ecosystems. Researcher Chris Lowe and his team studying shark behavior around protected marine reserves found that sharks almost immediately altered their movement patterns in response to fishing pressure, avoiding areas with human activity even when those areas contained abundant prey. Remove the humans, and the sharks return within days. The fear is real, the fear is ancient, and remarkably, the fear is reversible. Which leads to the question that sits underneath all of this. What does it mean that we have become the defining threat in the nervous systems of animals around the world? What does it mean that a deer standing at the edge of a forest reacts to the sound of your voice the way it would react to a predator its ancestors have feared for millions of years? It means, in a very literal biological sense, that we have become part of the structure of the natural world, not as observers, not as visitors, as a force, a pressure, a variable that thousands of species have been forced to incorporate into the deepest layers of their behavioral programming. Researcher Ariane Wallach, who studies dingo ecology and what she calls compassionate conservation, argues that this recognition carries a profound responsibility. If the fear of humans is now woven into the biology of wild animals, then our choices, where we go, how loudly, how often, with what intention, are not neutral acts. Every human footfall in a wilderness area is, to the nervous systems of the animals living there, a data point in an ongoing threat assessment that has been running continuously for tens of thousands of years. The deer at the edge of the forest isn't afraid of you specifically. It's afraid of what you represent, of what your species has been, consistently, across deep time, to the creatures that share this planet with you. And maybe the most important question isn't why animals fear humans. Maybe the more important question is what, knowing all of this, we choose to do next.